Have you ever felt like your mind is both your greatest asset and your deepest affliction? Like you're tuned to a different frequency, one that lets you see more clearly, feel more intensely, yet somehow leaves you feeling alone in a crowd? There's a strange paradox here. The more your awareness expands, the more alien the world can become. Conversations feel shallow, social norms seem absurd, and while others laugh, you wonder if they even get the joke, or whether you're the only one seeing the tragedy beneath it. This isn't just poetic angst or adolescent detachment. It's a very real phenomenon that has haunted some of history's greatest minds. Friedrich Nietzsche and Arthur Schopenhauer were two such thinkers, brilliant, isolated, and often tormented by the weight of their own perception. They weren't simply eccentric intellectuals. They were witnesses to the psychological toll that deep thought often entails. In this video, we'll explore the psychological price of intelligence, not through statistics or platitudes, but through the philosophical lens of those who lived its burdens daily. We'll look at why those who see more suffer more, and what wisdom we can salvage from their pain. When Nietzsche wrote, "To live alone, one must be an animal or a god," he wasn't merely being provocative. He was articulating an existential state, a condition of being profoundly out of sync with others. The more you understand, the more you perceive layers of reality others don't even notice. It's as if you're wearing glasses that reveal hidden patterns, buried hypocrisies, and disturbing truths that are invisible to the casual observer. Schopenhauer echoed this in his own blunt way when he said, "Intellect is invisible to the man who has none." He wasn't being arrogant. He was describing a fundamental chasm in perception. When your mind is wired to interrogate assumptions, dismantle illusions, and uncover the skeleton beneath the skin of things, ordinary social interactions feel like a charade, a series of rehearsed expressions, nods, and scripted pleasantries that conceal rather than reveal. It's like walking through a world of cardboard cutouts while being wired to seek reality. Modern psychology has a term for part of this: depressive realism, the phenomenon where those with mild depression often have a more accurate view of reality than those who are optimistic. As a result, high intelligence, especially when coupled with self-awareness, makes it harder to accept comforting lies. This perceptive curse creates a dilemma: speak up and risk alienation, or stay quiet and feel false. Socrates chose the former and paid with his life. Many others choose the latter and live in quiet exile, socially present, but mentally elsewhere. Schopenhauer once mused, "I have come to believe that one can never be happy in the time and place where everyone else is happy." Embedded in this statement is a sobering truth about emotional synchronization, or the lack thereof, for those who think deeply. For the highly intelligent, social interactions can feel like playing grandmaster chess while everyone else is playing checkers. You're already 10 steps ahead in conversation, anticipating not just what someone is saying, but what it implies, what it contradicts, and where it might lead. This can be exhausting. The effort to slow down, simplify, or dumb down your thoughts for the sake of connection is not only draining, it's alienating. Nietzsche captured this when he wrote, "Every deep thinker is more afraid of being understood than of being misunderstood. The real fear isn't ridicule, it's being seen clearly and still dismissed. Or worse, being misunderstood and then categorized, judged, or pathologized." Carl Jung, a later but relevant voice, once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Such is the loneliness of the long-distance thinker, surrounded yet exiled. This isn't elitism. It's a type of spiritual homesickness. You crave understanding, not praise. resonance, not agreement. But when so few can meet you where you are, the isolation feels less like solitude and more like exile. The psychological consequences of this dissonance are not abstract. They're clinical, measurable, and at times fatal. Studies increasingly link high intelligence with elevated risks of anxiety, depression, existential dread, and even suicidal ideation. Nietzsche knew this anguish intimately. His writings, while saturated with brilliance, are also haunted by pain, physical, emotional, and philosophical. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, he wrote. The cost of this resistance: chronic stress, loneliness, and mental exhaustion. Schopenhauer, ever the pessimist, took it a step further when he wrote, "The more intelligent a man is, the more distinct is his loneliness." For him, intelligence revealed not just social absurdity, but metaphysical horror, mortality, meaninglessness, and the pervasive suffering that undergirds life itself. Modern terms like intellectual overexcitability and existential depression attempt to label these experiences. But labels don't lessen the weight. Consider Ludwig Wittgenstein, whose groundbreaking work in logic and language left him mentally and emotionally adrift. Or Alan Turing, who was persecuted and whose unmatched brilliance was paired with isolation and ended in tragedy. The same mental faculties that solve intricate problems can also construct elaborate anxieties. The mind turns on itself, analyzing its own despair. Intelligence becomes a mirror too polished. It reflects everything, including that which we would rather not see. The intelligent are often mirrors, reflecting back to others not only what is said, but what is meant, what is denied, and what is feared. This makes them uncomfortable to be around. Ordinary people sense the scrutiny even when none is intended. Many highly intelligent individuals report being misread. Arrogance mistaken for clarity, detachment for disdain. The problem goes beyond just being misunderstood. It's being mischaracterized in ways that damage connection. This alienation is amplified by what psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski called the social misunderstanding of giftedness. Society often resents complexity. What it rewards is relatability. Those who fail to conform are often pathologized rather than understood. This social dissonance can lead to self-censorship. You dumb yourself down to make others comfortable, not realizing that in doing so, you lose a part of yourself. But perhaps such misunderstanding is inevitable. Maybe it's just the cost of honesty in a world addicted to illusion. And perhaps that price is worth paying if we're to be who we truly are. Popular culture likes the idea of the lovable genius who's charming, well-liked, and emotionally balanced. A sort of average Joe Einstein in the streets. But this is largely a myth. Most historical geniuses were not socially smooth. They were often abrasive, isolated, and psychologically tormented. Einstein himself once said, "It is strange to be known so universally and yet to be so lonely." The well-adjusted genius is not the norm. Rather, he's the exception and often the illusion. The desire for intelligence to come with social ease is understandable. But perhaps that's asking too much from one brain. The cognitive structures that allow for profound insight tend to come at the expense of easy belonging. What if, instead of judging intelligence by how well it makes us fit in, we judge it by how deeply it lets us see things as they truly are? What if being maladjusted isn't a failure, but rather a function of depth? So where does this leave us? If intelligence isolates, if it burdens, if it sometimes breaks, what makes it worth having? The answer may lie not in avoiding the pain, but in learning how to embrace it. Nietzsche taught us to create with it. Schopenhauer taught us to soothe it. Jung told us to integrate it. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and concentration camp survivor, told us to find meaning in it. A life of deep thought is not doomed to despair. It is simply more complex, more sensitive, more attuned to both agony and awe. The intelligent life is not about solving everything. It's about facing that which cannot be solved with honesty and courage. It is about embracing the abyss, not as a threat, but as an invitation. To live well with intelligence is to accept its isolations while refusing its despair. To choose love over contempt. To choose creation over critique. To choose presence over abstraction. Despite his reputation for nihilism, Nietzsche didn't advocate despair. Quite the opposite. His solution to suffering was not to avoid it, but to transform it, to forge meaning from the fire of affliction. Amor fati, the love of fate, was not just a stoic resignation. It was a defiant affirmation. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger wasn't a cliché. It was a manifesto. For Nietzsche, the intelligent sufferer could become an Übermensch, an overman, a figure who transcends conventional values and creates new meaning. When he declared, "God is dead," it wasn't triumph, it was alarm. He knew that tearing down inherited belief systems leaves a vacuum. The intelligent recognize this vacuum sooner and suffer for it longer. But Nietzsche's vision was hopeful. He saw this very suffering as a call to self-authorship. Viktor Frankl echoed this in his logotherapy approach, drawing directly from Nietzsche when he wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Meaning, even more than pleasure or success becomes the psychological lifeline. Nietzsche teaches us that the abyss isn't something to avoid. It's something to stare into until it blinks. Intelligence isolates, yes, but it also enables creation. And through that creation, we redeem the suffering it brings. Schopenhauer didn't offer transcendence. He offered respite through art and compassion. While Nietzsche wanted to turn suffering into strength, Schopenhauer preferred to quiet it, to momentarily dissolve the ego in beauty and empathy. He saw music as the highest form of art because it bypassed intellect and spoke directly to the will, the core of our being. In aesthetic experience, the isolating intellect is suspended. You are not analyzing the world, you are feeling it. Schopenhauer also emphasized compassion. Compassion is the basis of morality, he wrote. This wasn't sentimentality. It was metaphysical solidarity. To suffer is to be human. To recognize that suffering in others is to bridge the gap between minds. Modern mindfulness traditions echo this. Jon Kabat-Zinn described mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. This is more than self-help. It's a way to disarm the analytical mind, to live with rather than in spite of your thoughts. Even Iris Murdoch, the philosopher-novelist, framed love as the perception of individuals. In this light, intelligence need not isolate. It can tune you more deeply to the subtle textures of human existence, not just to think, but to feel clearly. Intelligence, isolation, and mental health, though intimately woven, are not predestined. They are material. And with the right guidance, even pain can become fuel. Nietzsche and Schopenhauer didn't offer easy answers. What they offered was deeper vision. They saw the cost of awareness, but also its possibility. If you have ever felt alone in your thoughts, misunderstood in your depth, or burdened by the weight of seeing too clearly, know this: you are not broken. You are part of a lineage of minds who walked this path before you. The pain of intelligence is real, but so is the beauty it can uncover. The challenge is to turn that pain into presence, that isolation into insight, that suffering into significance. Thank you for walking this road with me tonight. Until next time, remember, the price of intelligence is steep, but it buys you a front row seat to reality. Use it wisely.